I feel like every time I watch Legion, I am more and more and more and more and more and more confused. I figured this episode was going to be a filler episode to just kind of, okay, give us some background on David's parents and call it a day. No, David has now amplified Switch's ability. By the way, that happened within like an episode, so I hope they kind of go back to find out how that happened. But, so, Switch's ability is now amplified, and David is essentially tinkering with his own timeline. I understand he doesn't know anything about time travel, but all these other, like, movies and TV shows that do a time travel, you change one thing and the rest of it goes, like, to chaos. So I have a few theories. So my first theory is that David himself is the Shadow King, which I don't think is accurate in the fact that we actually see Amal Farouk. However, David is trying to tinker with the timeline in order to stop Amal Farouk essentially getting into his mind. Okay, so this bad thing happened. How this bad thing happened is still up for debate, but oh look, it happened, and David's trying to stop it. Alright, fine. My second theory is that his mother, because it is a little unclear what her disease is in my mind. She's in this mental hospital. Charles is also in this mental hospital. He's intrigued by her. He sees the doll. All of a sudden, the doll, like, somehow disappears, by the way, since he lifts up the lid of the box. And his mother and Charles are now essentially dating in a hospital setting. And when she says, you know, he essentially brings up, I know of a way to get out, okay, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, like, what did he do? Wipe everybody's mind and was like, yeah, we're better now, let's do this. So that's fun. I feel like there's something more to the story of the mother in the fact that, okay, fine, she can't fight off the Shadow King. She feels this presence in the house. Well, this presence in the house is freaking David. So that's why my thought about David being the Shadow King comes into play. Because he's trying to alter the timeline, and his mom, I'm thinking his mom can almost see the future. That was my first thought. But it's not the future. David is tinkering with his own timeline, which is screwing up his mother. So, okay, fine. Another theory I have, all the theories, is that his mother is going to be dead. Because David tries to tinker, and in the process of tinkering with the timeline, trying to get Amal Farouk out of his baby self, that his mother, like, not that his mother is the Shadow King, because that's just weird, but she has this, like, weirdness. I can't really describe it. Like, I want to know more about her disease. I want to know more about who she is. And, okay, fine, she's this orphan who is in these camps, and there was a lot of shooting. And she apparently ate a tomato because she thought it was an apple. Well, okay. But she knows that Charles can get inside her head, because she brings that up about the apple tomato story. Hey, while you were in there, did you see that? So I want to know more about her. I don't want to really know more about Charles. Sorry, I'm not interested. That's why I thought this was like a filler episode. But it's a filler episode that corresponds with the actual plot. Okay, so David gets essentially shot out of his own timeline because Charles is like, I've had enough of you. I'm gonna, okay, you're gone now. The way it kind of, it was shown that David got shot out of his timeline, I almost thought he was gonna be in like a Ghostbusters like tub, because you see, as the episode progressed, you see Charles trying on the helmet, and he's trying to, you know, figure it out, essentially single out Amal Farouk, I'm guessing. Why and how he knows this is his enemy is still beyond me, but whatever. But I figured he had this like little secret box that he keeps all of his, I'm not really sure how that would work, but that crossed my mind. And then no, David gets shot out of the timeline and back to present day, with Switch slowly behind him. It's funny that he gets like thrown out the door and then Switch is like, he showed like this much of compassion towards her when she pulls out her tooth and says, I went too far. And then she's like, I'm going to sleep now. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. I need you. Like, I know he wants to change his timeline, but he needs to chill out. No, like, he amplified her power, and she's still like a teenager, so she hasn't really matured yet in a sense. So he amplifies the power and then can go all the way back to like how his parents met, which, I mean, humored him, and I'm sure humored the entire audience, that they met in a mental hospital. But I don't know, man. Every time I watch these episodes, I'm like, what? So the trailer for next week is intriguing in the fact that, okay, he went back to when his parents met, tried to get Amal Farouk out of his baby brain, which did not happen because Amal Farouk is coddling the baby and is like, oh, my sweet boy. Same line as the mom, by the way. So I think the mom has something to do with the Shadow King. So, okay, he's on this, like, he's messing everything up, basically. Well, yeah, you messed up your timeline, and now all of a sudden, everything that happened after that, what we think we know, didn't happen. That's why the world is all so, the fact that that's coming into play, like, right away, whether or not that's the reasoning, that's how I see it, that is interesting. It's interesting for me. So, with that being said, this was kind of quiet to listen to. Obviously, they're in a mental hospital. They're not going to be screaming. There are a couple little, like, stabs to when David was in the mental hospital and when he was essentially, when Lenny as the Shadow King took over his brain in the mental hospital. So you had like Clockworks, then you had like Shadow King Clockworks variation, and you had the cherry pie. You had the random like connection of, hey, guy, girl, don't touch me, but then I'm going to touch you and we're going to walk down the hall together. They were dancing a little bit, but not so like super crazy dancing like Lenny did. So yeah. Okay, let me step back just a smidge because I'm sure I'm going to get all sorts of you don't know what you're talking about comments. I am interested in that, in the past, in his past. What came about? Why is Amal Farouk important? Why is he so taken by David? Although, the think back from season 1, David said that Amal Farouk is trying to get back to David's dad by, oh look, I'm going to take control of your son. So there's that. Funny how all of it kind of connects, isn't it? As much as I say I'm not interested in the backstory, I'm kind of interested in the backstory. I want to know why. I want to know what's going on. Although, as I said, I also want to know how Guy Carey managed to amplify Switch's abilities, but that probably won't be established because, oh, look, he did it, and now that's that. So, yeah. Not really sure what I watched. My mind is blown, as usual. And I'm looking forward to the next episode. What else is there to say?